Hi guys, welcome to week 5 of online learning, social studies. Here we go. This week is all about market economy and command economy. So you're going to do a reading and questions on a pure market economy, and then you are going to watch a video on North Korea, and that's going to show you what a command economy looks like. So we've learned about traditional. And then this week you'll have market and command underneath your belts. So let's review a little bit. Market economies give people the most economic freedom, right? So the producers and consumers control everything. This week's big essential question is, while it gives people the most economic freedom, which sounds nice, is it worth it to have that freedom? So, quick review here. In a pure market economy, all economic decisions are made by the producers and consumers. Producers are people who make things, right? Business owners or people who are working. And then consumers are people who are buying things. You can be both, right? You could be somebody that's a producer and a consumer. Um, Most of the time, you are both. So, all of the economic decisions are made by those people in a market economy. Government cannot make any laws around buying or selling goods and services. I want to make a quick distinction here. A lot of times we hear government can't make any laws, and we start thinking, well, then can people get away with murder? Can people get away with kidnapping? Can people get away with stealing and burglarizing places? The answer to that question is no. So government can make laws around things like that, but they can't make laws that regulate how people sell their goods or services or how people buy things. So I want you to think for a second about going to a fast food restaurant or going to a restaurant in general. I love Wendy's. Wendy's is my favorite. So I'm going to use Wendy's as an example. When I go to Wendy's, the people there that make my hamburger use hamburger and tomatoes and pickles and lettuce, and all of those things have been kept in a refrigerator. And that refrigerator has to be at a certain temperature according to the government, right? According to laws there. Um, when they assemble my hamburger, they are probably wearing gloves or they would have had to wash their hands right before, right? That is a law that the government has made that at Wendy's, when you go to get a hamburger or you go to get food made, food has to be kept in a refrigerator that's at a certain temperature. People that are making it have to wash their hands and have to have clean hands. Um, those are laws that the government sets about. Now, if you remember, we live in a mixed market economy in the United States. So that's part of that mixed market economy, right? Is that there are laws around it. That's a piece of command. The government gets to give us some laws. Um, in a market economy, we would go to Wendy's and the people working there maybe don't have to wear gloves or don't have to wash their hands, or the food doesn't have to be kept at a certain temperature. There's not laws around those things, around buying or selling goods and services. There can still be laws around safety. What we're doing this week, in this first lesson specifically, is we are looking at an example of a pure market economy. And the way we're going to do this is we are going to listen to um, a reading from this book called The Jungle. This man named Upton Sinclair wrote this book called The Jungle in the 1900s. And what it has to do with is these working conditions of a meat packaging company in Chicago. So in the United States, in the 1900s, there was a meat packaging company in Chicago, and this company was an example of a market economy, a pure market economy. And you're going to find out that even though producers and consumers have all of this freedom, there's some issues that come with that, with not having laws around companies. So to kind of hook you in, we're going to watch a really disgusting video.
It was only when the whole ham was spoiled that it came into the department, cut up by the 2000 Revolution and Minute Flyers, and mixed with a half-ton of other meat. No odor that was ever in a ham could make any difference. There was never the least attention paid to what was cut up for sausage. There would come all the way back from Europe old sausage that had been rejected, and that was moldy and white. It would be dosed with borax and glycerin, and dumped into the hoppers, and made over again for home consumption. There would be meat that had tumbled out on the floor, in the dirt and sawdust, where workers had tramped and spit uncounted billions of consumption germs. There would be meat stored in great piles in rooms, and the water from leaky roofs would drip over it, and thousands of rats would race about on it. It was too dark in these storage places to see well, but a man could run his hand over these piles of meat and sweep handfuls of the dry dung of rats. These rats were nuisances, and the packers would put poisoned bread out for them. They would die, and then the rats, bread, and meat would all go into the hoppers together. This is no fairy story and no joke. The meat would be shoveled into the carts, and the man who did the shoveling would not trouble to lift out a rat even when he saw one. There were things that went into the sausage in comparison with which a poisoned rat was a tidbit. There was no place for the men to wash their hands before they ate dinner, and so they made a practice of washing them in the water that was to be ladled into the sausage. There were the butt ends of smoked meat and the scraps of corned beef, and all of the odds and ends of the waste of the plants that would be dumped into old barrels in the cellar and left there. Under the system of rigid economy which the packers enforced, there were some jobs that had paid only to do once in a long time, and among these was the cleaning of the waste barrels. Every spring they did it, and in the barrels there would be dirt and rust and old nails and stale water, and cartload after cartload of it would be taken up and dumped into the hoppers with fresh meat, and sent out for the public's breakfast. Some of it they would make into smoked sausage, but smoking took time and was therefore expensive. They would call upon their chemistry department and preserve it with borax and color it with gelatin to make it brown. All of their sausage came out of the same bowl, but when they came to wrap it, they would stamp some of it special, and for this they would charge 2 cents more a pound.
All right, guys, so you can see here, that's the book that Upton Sinclair wrote. He was talking about that meat packaging company in Chicago. And we can see that even though the producers and consumers have all of this freedom to buy and sell their meat however they want, there's some issues there, right? There are pieces of rat poop in that sausage, right? Nobody wants that. So that's what we're thinking about today is we are looking at an excerpt or a piece of writing from this book, The Jungle, and then you guys are going to reflect on what's the problem with having all that economic freedom. You have to read something and then you have to answer questions in complete sentences. So I'm going to review for you what that looks like. This is not your reading. This is actually a reading that we did 2 weeks ago. But I'm going to show you that process again of answering things in complete sentences. So read the following and then answer the questions in complete sentences. I am counting off if you do not write in complete sentences. Okay, so you need to make sure that you rephrase the question in your answer. All right, here's our reading. With the government in complete control of the economy, jobs are chosen by the government. The amount of money people get paid is also chosen by the government. Governments then decide what needs they will provide for their people: healthcare, education, military, and tax their people in order to pay for those needs. Oftentimes, these taxes are much higher than they would be in a mixed market economy due to the amount of needs the government tries to provide for. So that's our reading. You'll have a different reading, but this is an example of how to read and answer questions in complete sentences. So I've read the passage, and then it says answer the questions in complete sentences. What role does the government play in a command economy? Use the reading to support your answer. The very first thing that I did is I went and I underlined my keywords. I thought that role was important. I thought that government is important, and command economy. Those words have to be in my answer in order for my reader to understand what question I'm answering. Remember that when you answer complete sentences, pretend that the reader cannot see the question. So based on that, they'd have to be able to understand what the question was just on your answer. So I'm going to type this out. The role the government plays in a command economy. Look at that. I want you to check it out. I have the word role. I underlined role. I have the word government. I underlined government. I underlined command economy, and that's in my answer, right? I also did plays. Okay, that's in there as well, but I'm going to leave it like that. So the role the government plays in a command economy is that, and then I'm going to go back to my reading because I don't really remember, is that they choose the jobs. The jobs? What else do they do? According to the reading, they choose the jobs, the amount of money people get paid. And they tax their people for health care, military, and education. All right, that is a complete sentence. I restated my question and my answer, and I used the reading to support my answer, right? Everything that I mentioned in my answer, I got from the reading. One more thing I want to point out to you guys is that when you are in this lesson, if you want the reading read out loud to you, you can click on this read aloud of Jungle excerpt. Okay, and that will read the reading and the questions out loud to you if you are one of those kiddos that would prefer that. Okay, all right, don't forget to email me. If you have questions, come to my Google Meet, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 11:30 to 12:30. I will walk you through this if you want. So just let me know what you need. I miss you guys and looking forward to learning about market and command economies.